Today on Locked On Rockies, the 2024 season officially underway as the Rockies play baseball today. And what are the fans' hopes for 2024?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 23rd day of February in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can find all of your Colorado Rockies podcast action, the videos there. You can comment on the videos. Easiest way to help the show grow and thrive is by liking the video, subscribing, and checking in and hanging out with us. So would really appreciate it if you check this out. Let us know what's on your mind. Well, because that's what we're doing today. Sometimes we do episodes where we read a bunch of stuff and we react to the Rockies fans. And that's exactly what we'll be doing today. We're trying to bring the positive vibes. We're going to try to stay on the positive side of things today as the season officially underway, like I said, with the first game. I know that pitchers and catchers and all that stuff have already been going on, but a game of baseball featuring the Colorado Rockies is going to be played today. So very cool and exciting news. We'll talk about that. But it's here. I mean, really, from now until October, we'll basically have Rockies baseball for us here to enjoy. So what an exciting time as we have a whole new season here. And I wanted to just see what's on your mind, what's on the fans' mind here as we get ready for this weekend and this first weekend of baseball and ahead of the 2024 season. So we're going to read some reaction from the some Rockies fans. I'm going to give my thoughts on those, and we'll just be really excited that the Rockies are playing baseball today. Before we dive into everything today, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. In case you don't know who I am Paul Holden. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you your daily Rockies talk here, going into my fourth season now, and been following this team my entire life. So I put out a call to action yesterday, and you all responded. And so I basically just wanted to say, what are you looking forward to? And if you're not looking forward to anything, give me a reason why, other than just the classic excuses. I want to know why you feel the way that you feel. And we got a couple of responses here. So here from Twitter, Mike Man 98989 says, I'm excited to see Nolan Jones. I think Dakota Hudson will have a good year. I think that one's an interesting one. I mean, as we have two pitchers that are coming into this rotation that are trying to remake a name for themselves, I'd love to see it. I mean, it is something that a story that has been told a few times now. Our pitchers coming into Coors Field and being successful in certain capacities. It doesn't always last, but sometimes some players are able to come into Colorado and be more successful than we think as pitchers. Now, it usually relates more into the bullpen and pitchers over there. Most recent example, most notably, is probably Brent Suter, or, think of the three pitch, any of the veteran arms the Rockies traded away out of the bullpen. Pierce Johnson was good enough that the really good Braves wanted to keep him around and bring him back. And so there are, this is an interesting spot. I think it's a place where, if you're looking to reinvent yourself, reinvigorate your career, a place where you really want to kind of, have that bounce back, Colorado is a good place to do it, in the sense of, even if the team is if you yourself are good, if you are performing and are doing, good things, you kind of get that extra little bonus point. You get that little bonus of, oh, you're doing it in Colorado. You handled that in Colorado. You're pitching in Colorado. So I'm excited to see what Dakota Hudson can do. I mean, again, they're not going to be Cy Young candidates. They might not even be all that great. It's just, I like the potential of the Quantrill and the Hudson deals versus, I mean, again, would you feel more confident in bringing back Chase Anderson and Chris Flexen, which was definitely a real possibility for the Rockies at some point in this offseason. So Of course, who isn't excited to see Nolan Jones either? I mean, he is the only Rockies player in the top 100 in baseball, which, again, top 100 players. I really think, again, you look at Ryan McMahon and I just don't know how you can completely disregard everything he does when he is a positive WAR player. He is someone that is a Gold Glove finalist and is a fine offensive player. He's not great. He's not dominant, but I think there's an argument to be made, but top 100 is kind of, I don't know, arbitrary anyway. All right, let's go here to Walter Clemens. Excited to see everyone back this year. Jones, Doyle, Tovar, Monty especially. Hoping they can really prove themselves this year. I hope it isn't Blackman's last year, but if it is, I hope it's a great time for him. That one, I would probably prepare yourself for it being the last one. I can't imagine. Realistically, though, with that one, the Rockies can't bring back Charlie Blackman next year. I mean, if they're going to stick with this with this plan, if they believe in these guys, unfortunately, you got to open up that slot. But on the flip side of that, Charlie Blackman deserves this year, deserves this send-off, deserves to be here. He's earned his way into this. Even if the performance is lacking, he has earned the right to be this a starting veteran for the Colorado Rockies to finish for this season. And I mean, who knows? I mean, they said they had the conversation at the trade deadline. Maybe they have the conversation again at the trade deadline of the Rockies aren't in it. Chuck is knowing that it's the swan song, and maybe he can go help and contribute to the team at the deadline. I will always say, and I believed this last year, and I will believe this going in through this season as well. I don't think the Rockies ever trade Charlie Blackman. I don't think that's ever something they really want to do. But if they've already entertained it, if they did go and they did have the conversation, if Chuck is continuing to show that he is a decent bat, he is someone that can slide into your roster and provide a really solid veteran bat. X factor with Charlie Blackman. He is the Rockies player that doesn't strike out that much. He is the Rockies player that will draw walks. He is someone that is way more better at making at-bats and taking pitches than some of the other Rockies offensive threats and offensive players. So I think that this is a situation. The Charlie Blackman situation will be an interesting one, but I think you should treat this as his swan song, at least with the Rockies. I mean, if he wants to try and extend the career and go I don't know, you're looking, Joey Votto didn't end up on a team yet, so there's kind of, I think, some similarities there. But for the rest of Walter's conversation or point, this is the thing that I think people are missing when even with all the projections, even with all this stuff. I mean, the reason to be excited and watch the Rockies is because they do actually have a young, exciting core developing. They have a team of players that they are building confidence in, and it is led by Jones, Doyle, Tovar. If Montero breaks out, if Montero has a successful season, I mean, there's four guys right there. I mean, those are the four guys that you're gonna know the name of. Those are the four guys you're gonna follow throughout the season, and mixed in with the potential of Brendan Rodgers sliding in there and seeing what the veteran players can add to it. And that's the reason to be excited for the Rockies. It's these guys. It's these guys having a really, really high ceiling, I think. Still, Monty, we don't know, but the ceiling still high for those three players. All right. Man, I am just dealing with it this morning here in terms of fighting off the early morning yawns. I literally wake up and I start recording. So that's how it goes sometimes. But no reason to be yawning because it's an exciting day of Rockies baseball back officially here. And we're going to keep talking about the fans' expectations here coming up in segment number 2. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible. And our newest sponsor is Backblaze. What is Backblaze? It's an online storage cloud that provides a foundation for businesses, developers, IT professionals, and individuals to build applications, host content, manage media, backup and archive data, and more. With over 3 billion gigabytes of data storage under management, Backblaze currently works with over 500,000 customers in over 175 countries. If this sounds good to you, you can get unlimited unlimited cloud backup for your Mac or PC for just $99 a year. And if you have a business, it works on multiple workstations and offers a 1-year file retention and version history. Even better, Backblaze has restored over 55 billion files for customers. You can also get your hard drive restored by mail and shipped to your door. To receive a fully featured no-risk trial, go to backblaze.com/lockedonmlb. It'll give you plenty of time to upload and download some files. Seriously, back your stuff up. You don't want to be in that situation. Again, go to backblaze.com/lockedonmlb. Sign up for the free trial and see why the New York Times and Tom's Guide have all recommended Backblaze. Backblaze.com/lockedon. All right, this is the Locked On Rockies podcast, your daily Rockies talk here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find us on your favorite streaming services. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can help the show grow by liking the video, subscribing, and firing off your Rockies hot takes in the comments section, which we are reading today. We're going to dive into more fan reaction here in just a moment, but Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and is now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Today, we are celebrating the return of Rockies baseball, team on the field, Rockies baseball, and we are keeping it positive. I'm reading the hopes here for Rockies fans, and we're diving into those. So we might as well continue here. Let's hear what Tracy's got to say. Tracy's always giving us great Rockies takes. Cares about this team a lot. Tracy 635 says, I am looking forward to an improved rotation. I think Quantrill has the ability to be an innings eater who can give the bullpen a break. Last season, the bullpen was really overworked, so I'm looking for Quantrill to help stabilize the middle of the rotation. I'm hopeful that Hudson can offer something in the number 5 spot in the rotation so the young pitchers can get progress without being rushed. And finally, looking forward to seeing what Riley Pint can offer in the bullpen. If given a chance with his arm, he could be Could he be a future closer for this club? I'm hoping he gets a fair shot to earn a bullpen spot this spring. Early indications from Riley Pint are showing that the Rockies have not given up on him. That's for sure. I mean, the command issues continue to be an issue for him, but I believe he is slated to be pitching out of the bullpen in this first game today. I believe he is someone that the Rockies media members have mentioned as someone that to keep an eye out to make the team, depending on how they go. Well, there's been a lot of talk about Riley Pint, and I'd love to see that too. I love your confidence in Quantrill and Hudson. I think Quantrill is the more interesting one. And as for the 5th spot in the rotation, I think those young guys at this point, they've kind of all been thrown into the fire a little bit, and maybe they need a little bit more time, but I think these young guys are more ready than we think. I really liked our conversation there with Roxpile when we were talking about Ryan Feltner, what he could do this year. Is he going to take a step forward? I mean, that 5th spot in the rotation is going to be really, really interesting. And again, Dakota Hudson and Cal Quantrill, how they perform to start the season is going to set the stage for these guys, going to set the stage for what we're looking at and set the stage for the rotation, because those other young guys are going to be looking at those spots too as opportunities for them to get in there. And it'd be interesting to see, does Hudson fit better in the bullpen? Can, or XYZ. This bullpen watch and this rotation competition is going to be something that's good to watch throughout the regular season. And I really like the competition that's going on in camp right now. I really like that there seems to be, for pitching, there seems to be competition at every level. Who's going to get those last spots in the rotation? Who's going to beef out this bullpen? Who's going to be the closer of this team? There's a lot of stuff that's going on with this rotation in terms of guys kind of competing against each other already, which I think is a good thing. I think that really starts building up that competitive mindset and that competitive side of the game going through and going into the season. I really hope that it kind of jumpstarts a little bit everything, which I was hoping the WBC was going to do for Daniel Bard and stuff, but unfortunately it worked the other way and kind of got in the way of the process. Unfortunately, Daniel Bard, 2 back-to-back off seasons where dealing with something different, injury this year and the WBC last year. So we'll see the impact there. But I really like, I'm not sitting here thinking we got the best. We're going to have the sneaky best rotation in baseball. I just like that the amount of competition that is there for those spots is, I think, going to help bring the best out of these pitchers that are trying to make the names for themselves. And it's not just the new guys. It's all those young guys, too, who are trying to solidify their spot in a rotation. Guys that have been called up by the Rockies and have pitched at the major league level for them a few times. I think this competition at camp is going to help the Rockies. I think it's just going to bring more of a little bit of that mindset of like, hey, we're trying to get better. It's not a stagnant thing. Like when I look back at last spring, I keep looking at that. When you look at the roster and you look at the way it's set up and you look at everything, it's all pretty much kind of set in stone where the season was going to start. Now, I like that there's some fluidity here. I like that there's competition. I like that players are going to have to prove it to each other and to the coaching staff at camp. I really, really like the competition aspect. I think it is something that athletes will benefit from, and I think it's having some building some fire up within these young guys and within this Rockies team, and getting things going now, getting in the rhythm now, getting in the right mindsets now. That's going to be how the Rockies avoid a tough start to the season, is if they're going to be ready to go and be the team early in the season that's more in the groove. Because that's the one interesting wrinkle with that hard Rockies schedule to start the beginning of the season is beginning of the season is weird. Teams look completely different in the beginning of the season than they do in the second half of the season. So if the Rockies can play as the more complete team early in the season, they're going to change a little bit of the narrative, and they're going to help themselves out. And I think it does start when you can't walk into spring training and walk into spring and just can count everything as a guarantee. I think every single player on the Rockies has pressure on them, pressure to succeed. There's a lot of questions on just about every Rockies player or on every Rockies starter that I can think of outside of Elias Diaz. I think Elias Diaz is probably the only person there that can sit there and say like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do. He plays a good catcher. The backup catching situation for the Rockies ain't great. I think Elias Diaz is really the only one that can sit there and say, hey, I'm got to prove myself. Everyone knows what they're getting here with Elias Diaz and what they're getting with me. I just want to keep hitting home runs and be a nice energy force for these Rockies pitchers and really help them. I think there are options that people, things that you could have done with catcher, but I think right now sticking with Elias Diaz is a nice solid move there as well. But thank you, Tracy. I know you're commenting on just about every single video, which we really appreciate. Tracy's got lots of thoughts about those Colorado Rockies, and we really love to see all the comments that you give. Okay. Let's see what Sean has to say here. Sean Triwatha. Man, I'm just butchering the last name there. They just all blend together. Triwatha, 5763 here on YouTube, on the YouTube comments. I see this. That's the other one. Sorry, I was looking at the earlier comment. Here we go. I am looking forward to a fully healthy season by KB and B-Rod. I'm looking forward to following Zach Veen and Drew Romo. Hopefully they can break through this season. I am looking forward to more movement on the base path with the improved speed. And finally, I'm excited for Warming Bernabel, as he is my sneaky long shot to make the club out of camp and fill that Alan Trejo role, but with a little more pop. I like that. One thing that I am not looking forward to is another year of Bud Black and his coach and this coaching staff. Not making any coaching changes after 100-loss season does not bring me optimism. And I'm with you there, Sean. I am right there with you. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily Bud Black. I mean, this is a season where enough when it comes to manager and coaching staff. If this season is a bust, if this season is a bonk, if this season just is if it just looks as lifeless as it did at certain points last year, you have to make a change. I know that and I think that change honestly is already coming, because I don't see Bud Black as the type of manager to really break the Rockies' curses that are happening right now. Bringing Bud Black in back in the day and having him manage that type of team, I get it, but I just don't see this coaching staff unlocking everything out of this team. And I've already, I embarrassed myself last week, or was it earlier in the week, talking about the pitching coach, but I'm with you with my hesitations and concerns over the coaching staff. I think out of people with the most pressure on them, the Rockies coaching staff should be right there at the top when it comes to their performance this year. I think that there should have been some changes. I think that there should have been pitching coach changes a while ago, especially as the trends continue downward for Rockies pitching. But so this is a big prove it year for Rockies coaching as well. I am with you there, Sean. But a fully healthy season from Chris Bryant and Brendan Rodgers changes the storyline for the Rockies massively. We don't know what a fully healthy Chris Bryant does to the Colorado Rockies. We haven't seen that yet. Unfortunately, we have a 2-season injury-prone Chris Bryant now that we were wondering what is he going to bring to the team. If he's fully healthy for the year, we'll see. I mean, there's a whole can of worms that opens up, but we'll see what that brings. And I've said it plenty. I think Brendan Rodgers has the potential to be an elite baseball player. Brendan Rodgers could drastically increase his trade value if you want to go that route, or Brendan Rodgers is going to give your young guy a little bit more time there in Amador to develop and then get up here. But the Rockies are going to have interesting choices to be made there. But Brendan Rodgers is at the top of my list of players I want to watch this season for the Rockies. I think he's incredible, and loved the prospect talk here. I really hope it's a big year for Zach Veen. We just talked about Elias Diaz as well with Drew Romo. If Drew Romo can back up Elias Diaz for a little bit, I think that would be not a bad thing in the second half of the season. And Bernabel, I love that there. I like keeping your eye on that utility player. The utility player is important. And I like Alan Trejo. I think he's a good utility player. And in case you missed it, Jonathan Daza just signed to play in, I believe, in a Mexican league, I think, this year. So he will not be in the Rockies prospect system. So the Daza time ain't happening this year. But really, really interesting watching those prospects. I'm rooting for Zach Veen too. I love the personality of Zach Veen. I love the hype around him. Really hoping to see a bounce back for him, and maybe he can flirt with the major league level this year. Who knows? All right, we got one more comment to read here, and we will celebrate the opening day of spring training for Rockies baseball coming up in segment number 3. But before we do that, though, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You can download the super easy-to-use FanDuel app as well, and when you do, new customers are going to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's when you head to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on for your chance at $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players, not just NBA. Hockey, you got it. Baseball coming up, duh. All the sports, all the action available on FanDuel. Bet on all the action like quick bets. You know how I love me a live same game parlay. Love trying to test my knowledge, putting two things together, a couple of lines together, making some bucks there. Exclusive prop bets if you're looking for some more fun and more. Like I said, the app, super easy to use. You can check out all the action and more at FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show, just like Tracy, Sean, Walter, and more are. And we got one more comment to read before we close out the show with our final thoughts. Adam Ice 9 says the Rockies didn't add anyone relevant in the offseason. So how can we expect them to have a different win total outcome for 2023? Even if Bryant becomes a decent MLB player again and actually gets on the field for 100+ games, I don't see that lifting the Rockies to a winning season or even 80 wins. To be honest, I want to see the Rockies win the division finally, but what I'm excited about is going to the ballpark, singing Charlie's walk-up song, getting $3 pregame rooftop beers, seeing lots of home runs and nice defensive plays from the home team, and watching stars from around the league play in Denver. And you know what I want to say on this one? Good for you. And that is not sarcastic. Remind yourselves, that you are lucky to live in a place, or if you're in Colorado or a place that has a major league team, or minor league team, there's a lot. I understand it. We love this team. We want them to be better. I want them to win the division too. I'm a little, you can sit there and be super frustrated by the offseason. They didn't add stuff. All of that's valid. But I love the fact that at the end of the day, your focus is going to the ballpark and having a good time. I'm not a boycott Coors Field guy. You're not going to, if you want to go watch the Rockies, if you want to take the family, if you want to take the buddies, and you want to go sit and enjoy the rooftop at Coors Field, I think you should. I actively encourage you to do so because it's the game of ball. You get to go and enjoy it. Be frustrated that your team isn't performing. Absolutely. But I think it is a reminder that it is baseball and that you get a huge part of your summer. You get to do something that deep down you love. I mean, I know the Rockies are frustrating, but still, I mean, there really are 20th and Blake on a beautiful summer day in Denver. You can't really beat it, even when the Rockies stink. I mean, it's a little more frustrating, but maybe the beer goes down a little bit easier. But I actually just wanted to kind of re-bring that up. Enjoy Rockies baseball, even in the bad times. Enjoy the ballpark. Enjoy being around your family and friends. Enjoy baseball, because what's cool with the new baseball is the fact that the biggest names in the league get to come to Colorado now, and you get to see these names. And I know you wish they were on the Rockies, of course, but I think that it's something that to keep in the back of your mind. It's okay, even in the struggling times, to just go enjoy watching the Rockies for who they are, enjoying a night at the ballpark, seeing other players from around the league, and just having fun. On the flip side, though, I still don't think that we can sit here and focus too much on the Rockies not signing big name free agents. If the Rockies got into this crazy market this offseason, if the Rockies spent the money that some of these teams spent and the length of contracts that the Rockies or some teams gave, we would criticize them. Remember the Chris Bryant contract. Remember what that's doing right now to the Colorado Rockies. Yes, there are players out there that can immediately help the Rockies right now. But it's the process of building up towards the next thing. I don't think the Rockies, even with adding a couple of free agents, would be that exciting. I think you could sit there and say that you think that they feel more like the Rangers. Rangers spends a bunch of money, season after, still kind of middling. 2 seasons later, World Series champions. I mean, I can see that. But just remember the context and remember how much money people were paying this offseason, and remember how much if you're really going to be frustrated by something, I mean, I'd be more frustrated with the way the system works. I mean, the Dodgers just Brinks trucked everybody. And there are teams that still spent some decent money this offseason as well, but it doesn't matter when you have a team that's able to just swallow everything up with their influence and crazy amount of money. I don't know. I'm not the most versed in that stuff. I can't give you the strongest things, but if you're going to be frustrated, you need to put that in context. The Rockies weren't and should not have paid some of the money that some of these players that some of these teams have for that level of commitment, given their current roster construction right now. But if these young guys dominate their sophomore year, if Amador comes up and he is able to handle it, if the Rockies are able to, flip Brendan Rodgers or Ryan McMahon or someone into some more young guys, then you're going to have to open up those wallets and bring in the veteran presence there. You're going to have to build around them, especially when it comes to pitching. But I really don't think that the Rockies missed out on a ton by not being aggressive in free agents this year. And I think that this team is going to be better across the board this year outside of pitching. The Rockies offense, even with some of those guys, Grichuk and Mike Moustakas weren't bad. I'm more confident in the young core of the young offense of the Rockies to bounce back. I'm more confident in them to develop than I am for, if the Rockies kept going out there. But again, there were veterans they missed out on. There were things they missed out on, especially later. I think the Joey Gallos, the Cabbages, those type of players, that's a miss. But the Rockies missing out on some of these major, position players signing major deals, is one thing. But, as everyone claims, I'm just saying, if some of these guys really want to impress, some of these Boris guys, take the discount deal in Colorado. Really prove it to you. If you can pitch in Colorado, you can pitch anywhere, right? But anyway, folks, thank you so much for all your comments. Thank you for checking in. Let me know what you're hopeful for. Hey, the Rockies play baseball today. We get to watch, I believe it's on Rockies TV. I think this is one of the few games that is actually being broadcasted today. So be sure to check out that. Go on Rockies.tv. We'll probably give you more updates or see what the schedule is there online, because that is your Rockies podcast for today. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for commenting on the YouTube videos. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Really, really do appreciate it. It really changes everything. And hey, keep letting me know what you're looking forward to here in 2024. Folks, for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, or if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs got you covered. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.